Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. We're here with Jill Waite from Westoe Travel and Graeme Brett from Westoe Travel, who are the among the founders behind a new group for travel agents, a campaign group called Travel Agent Reform Group Engaged Together. They are going to be fighting for greater representation of travel agents, certainly within government, and to try and bring forward some of the support needed for the agent sector at this time. So if it's okay, Jill, I'll come to you first quickly. Could you just give us a bit of insight into what Target is and how you kind of arrived at setting up this group?
Yeah, I think basically we were just getting a bit frustrated that there wasn't a lot of support for travel agents. Our trade bodies don't really seem to be representing us very well with government, and then obviously we get people like Grant Shapps saying what used to be travel agents and not even acknowledging that we are an actual thing. And I think we just kind of got to the end of our tether with it and think, well, we've got to take it into our own hands and make people see we are real viable businesses, and we do need a bit of help, and even if travel can't start, which we understand because it might not be safe, whatever, we just need some government support to get us to the point where travel can start and we're viable again. So we're not, demanding that travel be starting. It's not about that. It's just about getting the support for us, and also asking ABTA to respect us as agents, as valid members, because at the moment, I don't feel that we are.
Okay. Graeme, what are your thoughts at this stage then, particularly given the challenges you faced over the past 15 months or so?
I think what we wanted to do was to get all travel agents together, regardless of which consortia they were a member of, or whether they're a home worker or a shop worker, whether they were part of ABTA or not part of ABTA, and so that we had one voice to represent all travel agents. Because what we've seen for the last 14 months is mixed voices and mixed messages coming to represent the industry. And for example, we had messages going out saying that travel agents were on the verge of running out of money from one consortia, while another consortia was putting a message out saying bookings are up 140%. And we have to just have the one message as to the support we need. And we need to listen to travel agents as to what support they need and what their ideas are, and then us all work together. And I think that's something that hasn't been happening at the moment. And that's what we want to do, is to listen to the travel agents and all work together.
And Jill, you touched on it a moment ago, talking about Grant Shapps and his comments on Friday, which we all know were extremely unhelpful. But do you feel that kind of, in a way, sums up the problem that travel agents have had over the past year or so? That the government just doesn't seem to understand the sector particularly, and doesn't seem to be able to differentiate between the different parts of the sector and really get a grasp of who agents are and what they do in 2021.
Yeah, I think that is exactly the problem. Every time we're mentioned, we're lumped in with like the airlines, and we're not the airlines, and there's over 3,000 travel agents in the UK. So why are the government not seeing us as valid and viable businesses? And I think that's what we want to bring forward, is what we do and how we do it and how we get our revenue, so that there's more understanding.
Yeah. And Graeme, in terms of some of the support that has been provided, I guess more widely from government, things like furlough and some of the grants and things like that, some of those don't necessarily quite fit the business model for a travel agent, particularly furlough, with having to keep staff on to actually do some of the jobs a travel agent has to do legally and things like that. Is that going to be part of your thinking with the target group and what you're hoping to put across to government?
Yeah, I mean, I think that again highlights one of the issues we've had, because in September, when the furlough scheme was changed, that was welcomed by some of the trade bodies, and it was something that was an absolute disaster for travel agencies. And what we need to do is find something that can support all of us. But we have retail shops, but then we have people who own their shops, but we then have people who are company directors who have been excluded from support under the self-employed income support scheme. And I haven't seen anybody fight for those people in the travel industry. We then have home workers who again have had no support, and it's just, we've got to get support for the whole industry. And at the moment, there's just so many mixed messages going out that I'm not surprised the government's confused, to be honest, because there needs to be one clear message from the travel industry to support the travel agents.
Yeah, certainly. And the group, this target group you've set up, is open to all travel agents, irrespective of whether you're a home worker, whether you work for an independent, whether you work in a call center agency. For you, Jill, was it important to try and bring together every strand of the travel agent community and not just retail travel agents like yourself and Graeme?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are all travel agents, and travel agents work in a different way now to what they have done before. So while some of us have still got traditional shop premises, there are other people who work from home, the personal travel advisors, the different home workers. There's all different people involved that are travel agents still, and I think we do need to support everybody.
Yeah.
We've all been left behind.
Yeah. And at the moment, you've set up a Facebook group, which has got, I think, about 300 members so far. And that, I believe that's only been done over the past few days. Is that right, Graeme?
Yeah, it was just Tuesday night. That was started just as the first phase because we felt we needed to act quickly. And that was launched on Tuesday night. And I see it's over 300 already. And we just hope we can get that improved, and then we can get everybody working together to fight for our cause.
What I'd like to ask you both this. I mean, what are going to be your first priorities to look at? What will be, I guess, once you've got a decent number of members? I mean, 300 is already a very good start in a couple of days, and hopefully, if you push up towards 500, 600, push up hopefully eventually towards 1,000 or something like that. What would be, I guess, the first issue you would like to try and address with the government if you can find a way to engage with them? I don't know which of you'd like to go first. Perhaps Jill, what would be the first sort of thing you would kind of take up with government if you were in that position?
The first thing that I'd like to discuss with the government is that they do understand our trade. They understand what travel agents do and what we're asking for, and we're just asking for support. We are viable businesses, and when travel starts again, we will be viable, but we just need support to get to the point where we can start again. And, we can't have another summer where it's stop-start and people won't travel, and they won't travel in the traffic light system as it is because we haven't had enough qualification. We haven't had, confirmation of the testing regime or whatever. It's going to cost people too much money. And if travel has to stop, then just stop it. And just give us a day in the future and help us to get to that day, and that is all that we want. We want support. We want to keep our staff employed and obviously keep our agencies open whilst helping our customers, which touches on the furlough thing, that if all our staff are furloughed, it's very, very difficult to help your customers as well, because you've not got the amount of staff to do it. So we need something like a tailored system where perhaps we could have staff working, but they are still furloughed, because we haven't got the revenue to pay them.
Yeah, I think that very system I remember being talked about maybe in March or April last year when we were only really learning what the word furlough actually meant, and it still seems astonishing that a year later there's been no tolerance given to a sector like travel that has its own specific requirements for a furlough system, which could be relatively easily implemented. I mean, Graeme, do you think that's something that you could realistically achieve potentially with the government if there is a necessity to halt travel for longer in the future?
Absolutely, and it's we need to get direct to government and to get them to listen. But I think too often the trade bodies have just been sending a letter and not getting a positive response, and then moving on to the next topic instead of campaigning and getting everybody together to bombard MPs. Various government departments, ministers, etc., which is what we're going to have to do. And if that means having a campaign together to send emails or to visit MP surgeries or to have a group of us go down to London and meet outside Parliament or meet with an MP or minister, then that's what we'll have to do.
And I'm just going to be fair to ABTA just for a moment, the last summer they did organise a campaign where they did encourage travel agents and other travel bodies and people, stakeholders in the business, to go out and write to their MPs. And I think there was something about 24,000 letters or something sent from that. So we have had a similar kind of attempt like that before. But do you feel that somehow travel has still slipped down the kind of priority list for government, weighed against some of the other sectors that are involved? I mean, do you think it's partly a fight of getting that visibility for travel again and bringing it back up the agenda, particularly as we do get some comments from people saying, well, you've been given the green list, you've been given a restart from the 17th, surely travel's okay right now. I mean, we all know it's not as simple as that, but do you think that visibility is a particularly difficult point? Perhaps Jill, you could give some thoughts on where you think travel kind of how it's seen at the moment outside of the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think outside of the industry, obviously people know that they can't travel and they're looking forward to traveling, but they don't really understand the impact on our businesses of not being able to travel, of all the refunds that we've had to give, and going forward, all the refunds that we're still giving and all the extra work it's causing because we've not got any definites. And we're all fighting now to try and save this summer, but it could be completely futile. You know, none of us know. And it's not reassuring for the public to not know. If you're being asked to pay for a £5,000 holiday, would you pay for it with no guarantees on what's going to happen to it? And I think that we just do need to speak to, you know, somebody in government that will take on what we're saying, will understand the problems that we're having, because we have all written to our MPs, we've emailed them, and we've not had great responses because it just gets passed to a government department and then you just get a letter back saying, oh, we've give so many £1 million of help to people. And that's in general. And yeah, the furlough scheme has been fantastic, you know, and it's kept my staff in jobs. But moving forward, how long can we keep our staff in jobs? And especially when the furlough scheme changes and we have to make more contribution, how many thousands of people are going to be made redundant at, you know, at that point, because companies cannot afford to do it. And then we've got other things coming up, like the payment bounce back loans is starting. ABTA are asking us to pay full subscriptions. All, you know, all our bills still have to be paid. And with no revenue from last March, I think a lot of people are really starting to feel the burn here, you know, and reserves are running low. And we do need to keep getting the message out and hopefully speak to somebody in Parliament that can help us.
Yeah, and also as well, one of the big arguments from the travel industry that has come up over the past year, and it's actually been emphasised in ABTA's letter to the government ahead of potential legal action against the government in respect of its the adequacy of its support for the travel sector is this kind of disbalance in the level of support supplied from one industry to another. And I know, Graeme, you've had some thoughts in the past about how other sectors have banded together, perhaps more equally than travel has to get a response from government, like hospitality, for instance. Is that something you would like to address with this group to try and get to the point where you are speaking with much more of one voice and potentially beyond the agent community as well?
Absolutely. I think that, I mean, hospitality is a really good example, and you can see the success they've had by the fact that small hairdressers, nail shops and things like that are getting the £8,000 restart grant, whereas travel agent businesses are getting 2,667 because they've put their case more effectively than our representatives. We've also seen, I mean, over the last year when we had things like business interruption insurance claims, that the hospitality industry got together and they provided legal representation at the court case that was taken by the FCA against the insurance companies, whereas the travel industry stepped back and waited for the results. And the outcome of that has been is that many hospitality companies have been able to benefit from the ruling of the courts on business interruption insurance, whereas in travel, I think there's hardly any, if any, businesses have actually been paid out from business interruption insurance. So we've got to have that one voice. And I think when you see ABTA represented on television, that the representatives being ABTA, the Association of British Travel Agents, which is they're not. That's what they used to be, and they changed a few years ago to being ABTA, the Travel Association, to represent travel agents and tour operators. But when they're speaking on television, it comes across as being, it's reported by TV as that they're representing travel agents. and obviously some of their views, because they have to reflect the views of both their travel agent and tour operator members, aren't necessarily in line with what all travel agents would want. So by having this group as just travel agents, when we're speaking as one voice, we're hopefully representing what all travel agents want, regardless of whether they've got a shop, a call centre, or work from home.
And finally, I'm just going to one more question for each of you. Jill, is there kind of a central message from you and from Target that you want to put to government? If you were to sum up your message to them in a few thoughts, what would you say if you were addressing Grant Shapps, the Transport Secretary, or Nigel Huddleston, the Tourism Minister? What would you like to say directly to them at this moment in time?
I'd say, please give us 30 minutes of your time so we can have a meeting with you and explain how you could help the travel industry and what tailored specific help we need. And we're not asking for an absolute fortune. We're just asking for a bit of help until travel is viable again.
Okay. And Graeme, same question, but in respect of your peers within the industry, your other agents, what would you say to people that run businesses like yourselves, or our home workers, or our call center agents? What would you say to them, and how can they get involved in what you're doing?
Just come along and join the Facebook group, participate with your suggestions. We want to hear everybody's ideas and take everything on board, and then we can all work together to achieve that, whether it be writing letters, emails, targeting MPs, or whatever. But we can then all work together as one group of travel agents to represent all of us and try and get a better deal for all of us, because at the moment the government have let us down.
Excellent. Well, look, thank you very much, Jill Waite from Pole Travel and Graeme Brett from Westoe Travel. We'll have a link through to the Target Facebook page on the TTG website today as well. So if you're watching this, please have a look at that, and you can join the group. And I'm sure Graeme and Jill will be around to assist you if needs be. And hopefully this can be the start of something to bring agents together. So thank you, Graeme. Thank you, Jill. And best of luck with what happens over the next few weeks, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about what you're up to. So thank you for your time this morning.
Okay. Thanks very much. That's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.